Hello everyone. It's Mr. Shield here, and happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday. Hope you're doing all right. It is the 24th of February, probably, if you're watching this on Wednesday. And today it's geography. And we're going to learn about volcanoes today. Volcanoes. And actually, this whole half term, we're going to be learning about volcanoes. I'm learning loads about them, actually. I'll tell you a little bit about the detail. Today's lesson is titled The Journey No One Will Make. Ooh, no one's going to make that journey. We'll learn all about it in just a second. Right, so this half term, we're going to start learning about volcanoes. We're going to learn about the layers of the earth, the structure of the earth. We're going to explore what volcanoes are, what they're made of, how they form. We're going to learn about lava and magma and volcanic explosions. Oh yeah, there's going to be explosions. And we're going to learn about some famous volcanoes, in particular, a place called Mount Etna, which is in the island of Sicily, which is just off the Italian peninsula. We're going to learn about that a little bit later on. But today, we're learning about the layers of the earth. All right. Now, to help you with today, we've got a sheet that you should have in front of you that will help with today's lesson. And we can just pause, do a bit, move on, learn a bit, pause. You know how this thing works by now, don't you? I'm sure you do. Anyway, I hope you've got that in front of you. There's 4 parts to it. All right. Not too bad. All right. Let's start by going inside the earth. Ooh, going inside. And we're seeing what the earth's made of. So this image you can see in front of you is the earth, and they've cut away a quarter maybe of the earth that we can see. And we can see some of the layers, and there's this thin sort of pale brown layer going around the outside, and we call that layer the Earth's crust. And at the top of the Earth's crust, that's where we live. That's where we walk about and have a nice time, on the Earth's crust. But as it gets deeper and deeper, it goes into another layer called the mantle. And then even deeper, going into the middle of the earth, we get to a thing called the core. The core, like the core of an apple. That's its center of the earth. And there we've got an outer core and an inner core. We'll talk about that in just a minute. All right? So we've got the crust, the mantle, the outer core, and then inner core. All right, so this is where we're going to do the first part of our sheet, all right? So you can pause here if you like, and what I want you to do is put the right word next to the right arrow. So where's the crust? Where's the mantle? Where's the outer core? Where's the inner core? We just learnt about them. Can you remember? If you can't, you're going to have to rewind and have a little look. What I also want you to do is to colour in. Just sort of like the video. So we've got kind of like a light brown, and then maybe like a darker brown, and then maybe an orange or a red for the different layers. I'll leave it up to you. But make sure you get the labels in the right place and you colour in the diagram on your sheet. Do you know what? Pause here, and then we'll move on when you're ready. All right? I think you're ready. If you've paused already, you've done your diagram, you've done your colouring in. Let's move on. Right, here we go. The crust is that top layer of the earth like we discussed. Underneath that is the mantle, then the outer core, and then the inner core. And we're just getting to know these words. We're just getting to know them. Crust, mantle, outer core, inner core. But let's learn a little bit more about some of the details, some of the information which is going to be really useful for our geographical learning. All right. The thing about it is no human, not me, not you, not any of our predecessors, our ancestors, have ever traveled to the center of the earth. In fact, no hole has been dug deeper than 12 kilometers beneath the surface of the earth, all right? This means that no human has even got as far as the sort of grayish section in the diagram you can see on your screen, right? The Earth's mantle, as we know that layer to be called. All we have done so far is go a little bit into the outer crust. We humans have actually seen very little of our planet, if you think about it. Sure, we've explored the outside of the Earth to our heart's content, but the inside of the Earth? No, not really. So it's really unlikely that any human will ever travel through the Earth's mantle to the core. Because, quite frankly, as you get closer to the core, the hotter it gets. Temperatures at the very core of our planet, the inner core, can reach 5,500 degrees Celsius. That's hot. That's really hot. That's bigger than flaming hot. 5,500 degrees Celsius. That's the inner core. Okay, which brings us on neatly to the second part of our sheet, right? Here are two questions I want you to try and answer now, using our facts, using the information we've just covered. The first one reads, what is the layer of the Earth between the crust and the core? Okay, and I'm talking about the outer core here. So what's that layer between the crust? There's something in the outer core. What's that layer called? And what I want you to do is write the answer down on your sheet, but not just a word answer, not just one word. I want you to go for the full sentence, because you're getting older now, getting clever. I can see it. So we've got to write a full sentence. So you might start that sentence by saying, well, you wouldn't start with the word well. The layer of the Earth between the crust and the core is called, and then you would write the answer, because that makes it look really sophisticated and clever when you write a full answer. And that's what we want to see from you guys. The second question reads, how hot does the inner core get? How hot does the inner core get? Well, if you know that, you can always flip the video back a little bit. You can always flip it back and have a look. Or you might remember how hot it was. And we're going to try and answer that in a full question. Right? The inner core can reach up to, then put the answer in temperature. All right, so the inner core can reach, and then put the answer. And try and write that in a full sentence. Okay, that's the second part of your sheet. Pause there, have a go at it, and when you're ready again, we'll move on. You ready? You might have paused and press play again. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. So, the inner core gets up to 5,500 degrees Celsius, like we talked about. And that layer between the crust and the outer core, that's called the mantle. I hope you knew that. Right. If the inner core gets to 5,500 degrees Celsius, well, how hot do the other parts get then? Do they get hotter or colder? What do you think? Well, have a look at this illustration on the screen. What do you think? Is it getting hotter and colder? Okay. Well, let's have a look. I've got some facts for you here. Here's a little table I prepared for you. So the inner core, the very center of the Earth, can reach 5,500 degrees. The outer core can reach up to 4,000 degrees. The mantle goes from 4,000 to 1,300 degrees. I mean, way too hot still to even dip a finger in, even dip a toe in the mantle. No way. The crust, as you go from where we are on the surface, gets hotter and hotter and hotter, and that goes up to 600 degrees Celsius. It's crazy hot. Right, so you can see here as well, there's states on this table which tells you whether it's liquid or solid. Well, the inner core is solid and it's made from iron. The outer core is liquid melted iron. Then the mantle is a mixture of rock, iron, and other substances. And the crust is made up of rock. Okay, so you can see how it changes, and that crust is solid. Solid as a rock. I think that's a song. Anyway, let's move on. This picture, now this is great. This is a volcanologist, right? This is a volcanologist, and a volcanologist is a special type of scientist who's kind of explores and researches volcanoes and does trips to volcanoes and kind of gathers samples and analyzes. And they can only, even a volcanologist with all the special equipment they have, they can only get so close. Humans have not made the journey to the center of the Earth because of the unbelievable temperatures involved. And look at this person, this volcanologist. This person, they've got a special suit on. They've got tanks of stuff on their back. I don't know what that is. They look like a sort of a beekeeper from the year 3000, but they're not. They're a volcanologist. And they wear this suit because it protects them from the incredible heat of kind of going close to an active volcano. All right? And it's a very specially designed suit. But even then, they can only get so close. Otherwise it get too hot and they'd be in trouble. It might be really dangerous. Let's move on. Now, I thought I'd show you this diagram. It's quite a good diagram, this one, to talk about the crust. Okay, the crust is the outer layer of the earth. That's where we are. It's like a thin skin of rock around the earth. And it can go from 8 kilometers in thickness to 65 kilometers in thickness. And the crust is divided into sort of different sections. And we can see here that we've got, let's have a look. Let's highlight it for you a little bit. We've got the continental crust. We've got the oceanic crust. We've got the mantle here, that kind of layer underneath the crust. We've got seawater here. So it's divided into sections, our crust. The oceanic crust is a bit thinner, and it's a thinner layer that covers the Earth's surface. And it forms the beds of the ocean. The bottom of the ocean is the oceanic crust. The continental crust carries the land, carries the continents. And the continental crust is thicker than the oceanic crust. All right? It's a good diagram, this, and it's such a good diagram, I want you to have a go at drawing it. So, on your sheet, you've got this kind of, I guess it's a cuboid, 3D cuboid shape. And what I'd like you to do is have a go at drawing this diagram of the continental and oceanic crust with the mantle running underneath. So what you can do to start with, I thought I'd show you, is I might start with the mantle. You can just draw a sort of line that goes wibbly wobbly up a little bit, whoop, and then wibbly wobbly up a little bit. You can colour that in with pencil, make it sort of grey, and then label it with the word mantle. Let's do that now on the video. There we go, look, we're doing it. There we go, there's mantle, so we can do that. Then you can get another line, maybe go for a brown line if you want, and we can do something going down. There we go. And then I might change the colour of it so it goes a bit blue to be the oceanic crust, okay? So there we've got the continental crust with that brown line. I might label that. And the oceanic crust, can you see where it gets a bit thinner and goes over the mantle? And then underneath that, well, sorry, not underneath it, over it, come on, Mr. Shiel, we've got the oceanic crust there. We can sort of colour in a bit of blue there for the sea or for the ocean. Okay, so have a go at drawing this diagram. Make it look really nice. Use some nice colours. I'm sure you will. And make sure that you label it with these words: seawater, oceanic crust, continental crust, and mantle. Okay, there we go. And then we're doing really well. We've learned about the crust. We've learned a bit about the mantle. We've learned about the inner core. We're doing well so far, guys. Doing really well. Now, the mantle, as he talks about, just underneath the Earth's crust. Do you know it forms about half the Earth? The mantle forms about half the Earth. We call it kind of upper mantle and lower mantle. But really, you know, we'll just use the word mantle for the most part. The upper part of the mantle, anyway, is hard. But the rock below is kind of hot, really hot and soft, a bit like soft plastic. And in some places, it's even liquid, okay? Now, the core that we talked about before, the inner core, is mainly made up of solid iron, and the outer core is liquid iron, okay? So whereas the inner core is solid, the outer core is liquid. This is why, although humans have explored dangerous and distant places, you know, like the Arctic and the Antarctic and even the moon, right? No human's likely to really travel from the crust all the way down to the solid inner core. All right, let's have another look at these true and false facts so far. All right, the Earth's crust is very thin at only 8 to 65 kilometers. Is that true or false? Have a think, see what you think about that. The mantle is made of melted metals and is the hottest of all the layers. Is that true or false? True or false? The mantle is the hottest level or layer. Have a think about that. Number 3, the liquid core is made of melted rock. Was it melted rock? Was it a different material? Have a think. The solid core is made of iron. The solid inner core, is that made of iron? Have a think. Is that true or false? Number 5, the Earth only has 2 layers, the mantle and the crust. Ha, is that true or false? I think you know that one. I think you know that one by now. Right. 6, it gets colder as you get closer towards the center of the Earth. It gets colder and colder and colder as you get to the center of the Earth. Is that true or false? And number 7, the inner core reaches temperatures of 5,500 degrees Celsius. Is that true or false? Have a think about that. You can pause here if you want, have a little think about it, make your mind up, and then in just a second when you're ready, we'll move on and I'll show you the answers. All right, have a guess, have a think. Are you ready? I've got to tell you the answers. 3, 2, 1, let's do it. The Earth's crust is very thin at only 8 to 65 kilometers. That answer is true. 2, the mantle is made of melted metals and is the hottest of layers. No, it's false. That's not true at all. It's the second coolest layer, actually, after the crust. The liquid core is made of melted rock. False. It's not rock. The liquid core, the liquid outer core, is made of liquid iron. Iron is the material. And the solid core, the solid inner core, is also made of iron. Solid iron in this case, not liquid. The Earth has 2 layers, the mantle and the crust. Nope, that's false. It's got the crust, the mantle, the outer core, the inner core. Okay. 6, it gets colder towards the center of the Earth. Are you having a laugh? That's false. It gets hotter and hotter and hotter. In fact, it's true that the inner core reaches temperatures of 5,500 degrees Celsius. Blimey, that's really hot. Okay, so I hope you did all right with those. I hope you got the right answers. And that's the end of our session for learning about the structure of the Earth today. I hope you did okay. And I hope you took some time with your diagrams, especially with the continental and oceanic crust, and coloured them in. Take a photo of them and send them into Google Classroom. Can't wait to see them. I'll have a little nosy around. Now, next week, we'll have another geography lesson where we'll look at how the mantle, especially the mantle and the crust, affects such a thing as volcanoes. And we'll look at how volcanoes come to be. But for now, I hope you have a lovely day, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.